Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Barry, and I've got two guests with me. We've got Darren and Frank, or Frank and Darren, from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast. How are you doing, guys?
Good, Barry. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for
Pretty
asking. And you,
good.
Darren?
Yeah, I'm just laughing at Power Packers 90 in the chat there. Wolfman's got lambs.
Oh, in the Slaughtered Wolfman. Nice,
No,
nice.
I'm very good. I'm very good. Excited to do this. Although my room's hot. I bought this ring light and it's almost like it's turned the room into a sauna now.
I can see it behind you.
You can see I'm going to have to do something about that, doesn't it? Although it kind
Yeah.
of makes me look like a saint now and again.
Yeah.
Look, there you go.
You could hear.
That's just my electricity meters going around. Like,
So for those of you who don't know, well, I'm guessing you guys do know, but for the regards to the title, it's mostly going to be Evil Dead stuff today. Not just specifically Evil Dead Rise, but Evil Dead the franchise. I've not really done much on Evil Dead. I've kind of dabbled in it, and I've done the whole franchise last year. I decided not to do a ranking for it last year because I knew Evil Dead Rise was coming out, so I waited, watched the movie, and done a ranking for it as well. And I've kind of spoke about Evil Dead, but I know that other people would like to talk about other movies, which is absolutely fine. We're here for that anyway. If you want to talk about Scream, I know Frank would like that. Halloween, anything you want, then obviously by all means we can chat about that as well. But we'll mostly try and keep it to Evil Dead. Now, first of all, guys, again, some people might have not watched your show before, but have you guys seen Evil Dead Rise?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Darren before me, long before me.
Always.
yeah, I was lucky enough, and some of the guys in the chat probably saw this the other night because we did our own kind of little first thoughts on it. But I got invited to an advanced screening of it, which about 2 weeks before it came out in Leicester Square in London, with the director Lee Cronin, who was present and shaking everybody's hand on the way in and saying hello. And he kind of gave a good introduction at the start, talked about how he got the gig, and he was it was a pleasure to have him there, pleasure to see him, because he's not got a huge arsenal of movies or anything. I think it's mainly TV credits that he's got, and short films. But boy, did he knock this out of the park for a kind of first major movie. So yeah, and it was a kind of recruited audience of horror fans, and so those kind of really sort of big moments really did pop in there. It wasn't your reserved sort of British audience at all. People really did kind of get into it. So it was a special evening. I really enjoyed it.
What about you, Frank? Did you enjoy it?
I did. The movie theater wasn't too full because I like going to these early matinees. Not only is it cheaper, but you get a select crowd of what I call diehards who like to avoid the rowdy crowds at night, because let's be honest, movies like this caliber are seen by people probably who are 12 and 13 that are gone pretending they're older, that look old enough to be 40 to get in. They're all rowdy and hooting and hollering and everything. So people in the States here, when they go early enough, we take it very seriously. I had a really fun time. I think my wife enjoyed it, even though she's not really into the gore aspect. I like how they kept the movie toned down compared to 2013, but I think we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah, I think we will talk about that later. But the kind of comparison between not just the 2013 movie, but previous films in the franchise, because everyone feels tonally different in their own unique way. And I'm the same. I've thoroughly enjoyed Evil Dead Rise. I tend to try and not give a review for a film the day that I see it, because it might sway my decision later on in a couple of days' time. But even thinking about it now, from when I first seen it, I still think it blew me away, to be honest. And I'll still stand by this, that I think it's worthy of an Oscar for best sound. It helped that I went to see it in the super screen in the cinema, but I've not been so immersed in the sound of a film since Top Gun Maverick. That's how amazing the sound was in this. And I know it's not all about the sound. Sound doesn't make the film great, but it absolutely helps. And I was just so immersed in the sound. See, when you hear that vinyl turning and you hear, I think it might have been Bruce Campbell's voice as well, but you hear the Necronomicon, the guy talk, and you're just like, oh my goodness, it scares you, even though you're 39 years old. I'm like, oh shit, this shit's getting real. So yeah, I think I was
But
really
that's
immersed.
to your point. Sound's not just about jets flying around and crash bang wallop and explosions. It's about little subtleties and noises that are just kind of there and
Dripping of water.
or things like that. If it's well recorded and well placed in the auditorium, it can have a really huge effect on the movie.
Well, when you got the Beth, when she had the earphones on, she was listening to the third vinyl, and then you just hear the thing moving on the ceiling.
Yeah,
and you just see her coming down, and you can actually feel it go round. You're like, whoa,
like Blowout.
Yeah. But it was good. You know, that's just one of the positives that I had for it. It's kind of different to your normal positives for a film. You know, you see acting was great, the cinematography was great. You hear that time and time again, but you very rarely go, oh, what I really loved about this film was the sound. And I think it deserves to be spoken about because the sound was fantastic. It's definitely Oscar worthy. And I think it could be nominated for Best Sound unless they say, nah, we're not going to nominate horror films, which is fine because we know that tends to happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if Evil Dead Rises on that list because the sound was just, I can't even stop thinking about it. I see horror films all the time at the cinema and not once do I think about the sound in the film. But when I saw that, I was just like, oh, wow. That was great.
Yeah,
is there anything that kind of popped out for you guys apart from the usual for a horror film?
I mean, the scream when it comes to that sound, you know, when she screams in the
bath.
You're just like, okay, you can stop now. It's a little long, a little loud. But yeah, and when you're talking about the sound, you're right. Horror movies are not really known for their audio. They're visual movies. The effects were okay. They were good. But yeah, now that you think about it, Barry, the sound stood out a lot. You know, from the audio recording, hearing Bruce Campbell in the background on the recorder, and hearing the little footsteps, going across in the hallway as she's looking out the peephole, and you could hear everything going on in the background. Sometimes we could hear. It sounds like when someone's fighting in a hallway, you're behind a door, it's right in front of you. No, the sound was to the right or to the left, further down. So you could tell how far she was as she was taking out some of the other tenants. That was great. It was a great move. It sounds like they were actually trying to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the thing with how immersive Atmos is as well these days, Dolby Atmos. If you get an auditorium, and I'm presuming the super screen that you went to was in Dolby Atmos, it really does help because they can add up to it's almost like 100 channels or something like that. So you can pinpoint particular sounds, noises, placements within the auditorium. And it really does make a difference these days, particularly when you've got a subtle mix like that, you know. But for me, I mean, the main thing for me wasn't the sound, which I did enjoy, but it was the fact that they'd taken this IP and put it in a completely different environment. So we weren't just in the woods this time. We were at the start and at the end. I get that, but this time they'd taken it to a different location, a claustrophobic location like a high rise, and made it work. Made use of that building as a kind of as a tool to add to the horror elements of the movie. And I don't always get it right like that. You move a horror franchise out of its comfort zone, like they have done with, I know, Scream, put that in New York, or even Jason. And for me, it hasn't worked. For me, Scream was just another Scream movie, and Jason Takes Manhattan was another Friday the 13th. It made no difference that they'd moved it. But with this, it really added to it that it was in a different location. I think that the fact that they were in this tiny little room, and with the cabin, you can always try and get out, even though you can get out and get back. You can almost always get pushed back in for some reason. With a high rise, you can't. That's it. You're stuck in that room, in that corridor, in that lift, in the basement. It was just, it was really claustrophobic, and I really enjoyed it for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that a lot of people had an issue with it being moved from the cabin to the high rise, and even after they've seen the movie, some people still weren't up for that. They didn't really like it. They wanted to be traditionally at the cabin, which I can understand people wanting that. It's like wanting Michael Myers to stay in Haddonfield and not go to California, for example, wanting to see Jason Voorhees at Camp Crystal Lake. I can see why people want that, but I think if you want it to work, then you need to give us a good storyline. So I think if Evil Dead Rise moved it to the high rise, but it wasn't a good story, I would think that would be a failure. But the fact that they moved it out of the cabin and they gave us a story that we cared about the characters and we cared about the situation. It's, for example, Scream 6. I didn't care that it was in New York. It could have been in any city. It didn't have to be New York. Whereas with Evil Dead Rise, they gave you a reason for it to be in a high rise, and they gave us a good excuse for choosing that location because, like you said, Darren, even though it's a high rise, it's a bigger area. You still felt like you were stuck. You know, the stairs were broken, the lift wasn't working. You were stuck in not just the high rise, but most of the time you were stuck on that one level. So being stuck in that one level in a high rise building, knowing that there's nowhere to go, then that's perfect. So they've given us a good story and a good reason for taking it away from the cabin. So yeah, I can understand people don't like it for that reason, but watch it and decide, was it a good reason? I think so.
But it has to evolve, right, gentlemen? It can't be always at a cabin. It can't always be in Haddonfield. It can't always be at Crystal Lake, because our generation, we're going to be like, oh, we're back again at the cabin. Here we go again. You know, how many cars are in the parking lot already for this damn book? You know, you're going to have Bruce's car. You're going to have the car for the 2013 remake. You're going to have, you know, the one from the Evil Dead Rise, if it ever came to that. You know, someone's going to go to the cabin and be like, there's 7 cars here. I wonder what hell happened. You know, it gets tiring. So yeah, move it to something else. Let something, you know, let another setting be the brunt of this destruction, and let know that evil can go everywhere and not stuck in one place. So I think that it's good that they moved it to a different area besides a cabin.
Yeah, it changes it up. When you've got Shamrock Ball says Jason Takes Manhattan is an underrated classic. I actually agree with that. I don't think it's a great film, and I think it's really bad. But I think what makes it bad makes it good for me. And I think it's similar to Scream 6. They go to New York, but not really, and there's no reason for them to be there. So I think people will. Well, I thought people would have warmed to Jason Manhattan way before now, but obviously people still don't like it as much as I thought they would. But yeah, it's an example of a film that it's like you said as well, Darren. Even though they go to Manhattan, they didn't really need to. It still felt like a Jason film. There was no reason to go there. Therefore, you're giving us a different location just for the title, and that's it. Whereas Evil Dead Rise has given us a really good reason for it. And yeah, I think the high-rise flats or the apartments or whatever you call it, I think it works. It's good.
I mean, it's a book, right? It's a book. A book can go forever, you know. It can go. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if this thing was checked out from a library? If they showed a prequel, you know, it came from the Library of Congress, you know. Or it'd be funny if King Charles was reading it on his coronation Saturday. You know,
tomorrow
we have the mom all of a sudden getting up, oh God bless her, and start running around saying, "It's my throat, it's my throat." You know, that'd be a great movie. I watch it.
I would watch that. Yeah, you see his eyes going white.
Deadites in Buckingham Palace. There might be some there now. Who knows?
Maybe. just seeing King Charles going, Condor.
Condor. He's getting the words all wrong.
I love Shamrock Balls' commitment to telling us that Jaws: The Revenge is a great movie. He'll always defend this film, and he's right. They did move that to a different location, but I'm not sure it worked.
Even though the shark wouldn't be able to survive in warm water, but hey, okay, we'll dispense our belief here for a little bit.
Was that not set in Amityville? I take it. I don't remember it.
In the beginning,
that would be fun.
Is that not where the first one was?
Amity Island.
Oh yeah, but is that not the same place?
They're both by the lake.
They moved it to the Bahamas.
Jaws coming out.
Amityville shark. Yeah,
I'm drinking my my Spanish beer. I'm still not away from Spain just now. I know you just came back, Darren, but I still feel like I'm there.
What's with
Excellent.
Spain as a destination in Europe? It's like it's like Willy Wonka over there.
It's cheap.
Because we can get there
It's
quicker than
cheap.
you can get to. It's cheap, and we can get there quicker than you can get to the end of your road.
That's true. That's true.
2 hours away.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to France for vacation, do they?
Not really. I think France, especially the north of France, is just kind of like England. The weather-wise, it's like there's no difference. I think if you want a bit of a difference, you need to go to Spain. That's the kind of the further you go, the better. I was in Malaga in April there, so that's literally the bottom of Spain, almost Africa. So the weather's hot,
hot.
there, even in April. So it was about 26, 27 degrees, but that's roasting for me because I don't know what the Fahrenheit is. I know 26 degrees is probably freezing for you.
I think it's about
Celsius.
74 or something like that. I
Is
think.
it?
Something
yeah,
like that. 74,
hot for me.
75. Yeah.
Let's see. I'll look it up really quick. Yeah, it's about 80 degrees almost.
Yeah, so that's
Is it 80?
anything
Oh,
above
wow.
80 degrees, then it's too hot for me.
That's nothing. We'll sweat it out.
Yeah.
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 Before we
Like
before
this-
we go on, sorry, on you go.
I was going to say it's like this room at the moment. With this,
Your room looks hot. I don't know if it's because of the color scheme.
Like you're in a Kenny Rogers chicken roasted oven.
Kenny
You're in
Rogers.
Popeyes. Yeah, Kenny Rogers had his own chicken place over here.
Oh wow. Okay.
I can't
Seinfeld.
put my. I've showed you this before, Darren. I can't put my colourful lights on a live stream because it flickers
They
my.
flicker. Yeah.
My camera?
Yeah.
It's the webcam. I think it's the webcam. It can't pick up the lumens on the lights, so it just shows it
okay.
as a flicker. So I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've just got my soft boxes on. That's the only thing I can do, sadly. So
Cheap
yeah,
lights, Barry. Cheap
I know.
lights.
I need to improve. So before we move on, I just want to say hello to a lot of people. I think a lot of people are starting to come into the chat now. We've got Power Packers 90, Tyler Singleton, Tom Ungurian. I've not seen you for a while, Tom. Fishing with Fishgal, Jay Wilshaw, 31 Hallows Death / Andy. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy before. 31 Hallows Death. Andy says, Star Rise.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He does his own music. He does his own score and stuff. He does fantastic score work. I've used some of his score in some trailers that I've made previously.
Okay.
Really good stuff.
Excellent. Excellent.
We've got Mark Jones, Jordan Moran. Jordan's been a subscriber for a long time now. Tyler Singleton.
Good lad.
Yeah. Who else have we got? Chantel Thornton's here.
Hey,
Shamrock
Chantel.
Balls. The horror section. Yeah. Don't forget Halloween H2O was in California. Absolutely. one of the best sequels you'll ever see. Don't
Oh, I'm off.
we'll get
Don't
Cynthia
forget,
J.
we see
Yeah. Cynthia J is in the house. Hi, everyone. Oh, Jordan Moran says he's away to Malaga for his 40th in September. Almost a happy birthday to you, Jordan. I'll be 40 in December, so you're a little bit older than me, fortunately. So yeah, let's move on to the next part of our show, and that is, how does the Evil Dead Rise compare to the previous films for you guys? So kind of like a mini ranking if you've not ranked it before. And if you don't want to rank it, just how does it compare anyway?
Well, the laughs are gone, aren't they? You may get a few snickers from, kind of the gore a little bit. I think that we could talk about it because it was in the trailer. The cheese grater, I thought would be a little bit more gory.
Yeah.
I was not surprised by that. I thought it was going to be more rubbing up and down, back and forth, than seeing slices of skin. That would have been a little bit more my taste. No pun intended. But Bruce Campbell's the one who brought the comedic role of Ash to this franchise, and as Bruce Campbell said, he's in the rocking chair, smoking a joint, and being a producer and let everybody else do the hard work. I think this is more of, the series is becoming more physical, isn't it? It's more physical versus comedic and being more quote unquote devilish than before. There's really no laughing from the Deadites this time. Laughing, I mean, like, like Linda, his girlfriend, would be like laughing, trying to get him and everything. Her head would be off, and she'd be laughing too.
Like slapstick style.
Yeah, this is getting more mature.
Yeah,
I think they went too far with it, didn't they, with Army of Darkness? And also, to some extent as well, Ash versus the Evil Dead, which was also quite comedic throughout. I don't, as I said the other day, I don't mind which way they go as long as the movie's good. I was never a fan that much of Army of Darkness, although we did an episode on it a year or so ago, Frank, and I actually quite enjoyed watching it again. But the first two for me were always the ones that I always kind of gravitated towards. And I saw Army of Darkness. There was a huge mix-up with the rights in the UK for Army of Darkness, and it was late coming out here. I think it came out a few years after, maybe in the like 93 or 94 even, or something in this country. And then when it finally did come out and I saw it, I was so disappointed because they'd gone that full kind of slapstick route. Like Frank, you pointed out the other night, the bit when he's kind of messing around with the lamp and everything in the corner of the room and the little ashes and that sort of thing. And it was tonally something completely different to what I knew about Evil Dead, because I was brought up on the original and the second film. So I always kind of parked it and just stuck with the first two movies. But I do look back and appreciate number 3 now. But Frank, sorry, I was taking away your ranking. Do you want to rank?
I mean, of course, my favorite's always going to be part 2. It's the first one I ever gravitated to. First one I saw. And that's where we actually get the Ash that we know of now is from part 2. In part 1, he wasn't the Ash. It was his friend Scott that was the hero, really. Dono was taking all the taking up all the brunt force of the Deadites and stopping them while Ash was cowering in the corner somewhere. So I would go Evil Dead 2, then Evil Dead 1, then I would go the remake, then I would do this, Rise, and then I would go Army of Darkness. I mean, I could. I mean, if you could throw Drag Me to Hell in there. I mean, is that in the same universe?
Feels like it sometimes, doesn't it?
Well, that was even slapstick, wasn't it? Where she was gumming, her at the end and everything. And like you said, like you just you mimicked Barry, the dancing goat god, was there. So that would be my ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would go 1, 2, Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness.
Yeah. Well, I've done mine on my channel. Mine was Evil Dead, the remake. Then it was Evil Dead 2. Then Evil Dead Rise. Then Army of Darkness. And then the original Evil Dead. And that doesn't mean... Yeah, but that doesn't mean the original Evil Dead's bad. You could flip my list upside down and nobody would complain. You could flip it the other way. Nobody would complain. That's how perfect this franchise is. It's weird because I would go back and watch Scream and Halloween franchise before the Evil Dead franchise, but the Evil Dead franchise is so strong. There's not one okay film in this franchise. The worst one in the franchise for me is the original, but it's fantastic. That's how close it is for me. And I think my entry to Evil Dead was Army of Darkness, and I didn't even know it was an Evil Dead movie. I just watched it with my family because it looked like a family film, and we all sat back and loved it. We thought this is a great comedy, and then we found out, it's part 3 of other movies, and I was like, oh really? And I watched them, and they were obviously tonally different. Evil Dead 2 was a little bit more tonally the same, but they all change. So I went back and watched them, but I still thought, I prefer Army of Darkness. So I think Army of Darkness was my favourite for a long time until I started appreciating part 2 more. And I think part 2 was my favourite for a long time. But I just think that when I watched the remake, or whatever you want to call it, from 2013, I went to the cinema to see it with my wife, and she felt physically sick, and she's never felt like that before in a film. And even me, I thought, I was like, ooh, like seeing the girl was cutting her cheek at the mirror. I was like, oh my days. And then when she went with the needle in the eye to the guy with the glasses, I was like, oh Jesus. And then the girl cutting her arm, I'm like, what is this? This is amazing. I'm loving it. And Claire's like, oh. So, and you can hear people in the cinema like literally going like, and I've not had that experience before. Went to see it at midnight showing as well. So it's, some people were having a little drink under their jackets. So it was a good experience seeing it at the cinema, everybody feeling sick and in the mood. And I think it tried to do that to you. I think it done in 2013 what Evil Dead done in 1981, and that shock its viewer. And it's hard to shock you in 2013 because you've seen it all. But the fact that you hadn't seen it all until you saw 2013, I can't name another film I've seen that's more bloody and more disturbing than the 2013 movie. And yes, it's tonally similar to Evil Dead Rise. I think Evil Dead Rise has got a little bit more of a laugh in it with the eyeball going out into the person's mouth, and Dead by Dawn.
Well, that's a kind of homage to the second one, isn't it?
Yeah,
the
Dead by Dawn,
eyeball scene. Yeah.
No hair eating though.
Yep. So it's they're all tonally different, and even though the ones that are similar to each other, you can tell the difference. I just think that the 2013 movie is the best, and tonally for me, that's my type of horror film. If you're going to go blood, go all out. If you're going to go gore, go all out. But don't do it like Saw or Hostel. Don't just give us it because you want to. Give us it because it's necessary. I think for an Evil Dead movie, if you want to make a really good Evil Dead movie, give us the blood and gore. Make it necessary. And I think that's why I love it so much. It's great.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw... Where did it go? Oh, there's there. We've got Callum Brown in the house.
Hey, Callum.
Nice mic, Barry. Callum gave me this mic for coming on to his podcast. He works at the Podcast Studio Glasgow. And
I listened to it. It was good.
Yeah. Oh, did you listen to it?
I listened to it. It was good.
Yeah.
I haven't yet. I do. I am going to do, but I tried to play it in Spain the other day, and it just wouldn't play at all. So I thought, oh, well, listen to that when I get back.
Yeah, give it a listen. You don't have to anyway, but if you want to listen
to
it.
I do want to. I genuinely do, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. And Callum, he was an up-and-coming podcaster when you guys were starting out as well. And he's just trying to get into it now. So he's working at a big studio now. The studio's amazing. You go in, it's like...
Comfy chairs, right?
Yeah, it's so nice. Yeah, you go into the studio and you've got... It's two different
areas. It did look cozy.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. And it's all professional. You could actually sit in there for a couple of hours and record loads of YouTube videos and make it look really good. I'm sitting here with this stuff. It doesn't look that professional, but if you want to make it look professional, you go in a studio like that. It's amazing. And they've got obviously the best of gear, best of mics, best of videos. They get 6K cameras and stuff. You get 3 cameras on you as well. I felt like I was in Match of the Day or something like that. Just like, whoa. That was really good. So
with a fake ficus plant in the corner.
Well, I don't think they were fake. They might have been fake, but yeah, there was lots of plants, lots of drink as well. But welcome, Callum. I'm glad you could make it.
Hey, Callum.
Just getting through it. We've got a few other people who have joined the chat as well. Batshit Scary is in the house. Hi, guys. We'll come back to this later tonight. Off to the rugby. Have a good one. Oh,
nice.
You're very posh. We don't watch rugby. That's a gentleman's sport, and
that's a gentleman's sport.
It is, yeah. It's over in the UK.
Barry's just, what did you do, like cockfighting or something like that? I think
football. Football with the Rangers and Celtic fans. You know this, Darren.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to I think I've just gave it away for myself, but how were you guys introduced to the franchise? I'll finish off what I was saying with me introduced. It was Army of Darkness, of course. We rented it from the video store. Sometimes when it wasn't available, we would wait for it to come on TV and record it, and then we didn't have to go back to the video store. And the rest is history with me with Army of Darkness. But I take it, Darren, you must have watched the first one first, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, let me think. Did I? That's a good question, because it got banned in the UK.
Yes, it did.
It was the first one was banned, and it was the kind of poster boy for the video nasties in the early 80s in the UK. And so it was like this kind of it was like a quest to find a copy of it. People you could be prosecuted, you could be sent to prison for watching this film in the UK. In fact, the Department of Public Prosecutions in the UK took Sam Raimi and the production to court to try and prosecute them, and failed. And in which case, the movie was then kind of cut loose, and they didn't put it back out there for a long time. But I did see a kind of a bootleg copy of it in the sort of early to mid 80s, and I think I can't remember whether it was Evil Dead 2 or 1 that I saw first, but either way, I loved both of them. And there was confusion there because you're never quite sure whether Evil Dead 2 is a sequel, an equal, a kind of, a kind of retelling or what. I think the way I look at it is it's a kind of more it's a more lavish upgrade of the first one, with the first one kind of condensed into the first 15, 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But, no one's ever been able to kind of tell me exactly I don't think I've ever heard Sam Raimi say exactly what the kind of connection is between the first one and the second one. But
See, I always looked at it like they made Within the Woods and they got a little bit of money for it. And then the money they got, they remade it into Evil Dead.
Yeah,
and then
pretty much that,
Yeah. Then they made a little bit of money on Evil Dead. And they thought, let's do it again. And they made it with an even bigger budget. That's what it felt like. It's almost like they've expanded the story every time until Evil Dead 2, until they got it just right. So it's almost like a trial and error. And then the finale, the final product was Evil Dead 2. So that's the way I see it. But obviously, everyone sees it differently because it's not, like you said, there's not been a definitive answer as to if it's a sequel, prequel, requel, whatever you want to call it. You just don't know.
So Ash went back out into the world and got another girlfriend named Linda by pure happenstance. I need another Linda. You'll do.
It's odd because it doesn't feel like a kind of an absolute, a remake of the first one. It's different in a lot of ways, but it's either way. They're both great films. They've both got their own style. The first one's more serious than the second one is, and I can. It's difficult for me to choose which one I prefer. All I know is that Ash Williams in part 2 just goes through absolute hell. He's beating himself up. He's getting beaten up. He's getting thrown downstairs. He's getting possessed. He's getting thrown through the woods. It's such a physical performance from Bruce Campbell and iconic. I think that's the movie that really put him on the map as a kind of leading horror actor.
Yeah. He did a lot of his own stunts, like the up close stunts, the way he was flipping himself over when he was at the hand, because you could see it wasn't a stuntman. I was like, he's doing a lot of this himself. He's brilliant.
Yeah,
and he's one of the first comedy horror actors that I saw that I was like, I love this guy. And I've seen him in other films that he's just so charismatic. He was in a film called Sundown, Vampire in Retreat. He was great in that. He was Bubba Hotep. I don't know if you've seen Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic in that. So he's always so good. Even in the kids' films like Sky High that came out in 2005.
Is that the Kurt Russell thing?
That's the Kurt Russell movie. Yeah.
I forgot he was in that.
Yeah. He's the coach. He's so good in that. Frank, did you say it was part 2 you saw first?
Yeah, part 2 was the first time I saw a Evil Dead movie. It was on my VHS shelf downstairs in my living room, and it wasn't a actual VHS bought tape. It was one that had marker on it that said Evil Dead because it was a copy.
Best one.
And so I put it in. My mom heard me playing that movie, came down and says, "What are you watching?" And I'm saying, "Oh, Evil Dead 2." And she was fine with it because for her and for my dad and for myself later on, it was a comedic movie. I mean, you have a decapitated hand given its former body the finger. And you have Ted Raimi as, Sweet Henrietta. making fart noises as the head's coming off. It was so out of the realm of being scary that it was even okay for kids to watch. I mean, Bruce Campbell, as we all know, as being Ash, has not been Ash from Evil Dead 1. He's been Ash from Evil Dead 2, and we as kids always wanted a chainsaw hand. So we would go around and play with real chainsaws, pretending it was our hand, not knowing how to turn it on, of course, or making sure that there was gas out of it. But still, you could do some damage swinging that thing around with other kids around. But yeah, Evil Dead 2 will always have a special place in my heart because it was the introduction to the franchise for me, and it's a laugh. Baby, you're holding my hand too tight. I ain't holding your hand, and it's hand.
Yeah.
Even seeing the I guess it would be the Deadite King or whatever it is that comes in at the end, and Ash turning gray and the flower dying. It's hilarious.
I do think that the Deadite in the cellar in I think, is it Claire in the first one? I think so. I can't remember. The Deadite in the cellar in the first one is far more horrific looking than Henrietta in the second one. I think the look of that girl's face with the white lenses in and the bluish face and everything and the banging the roof up and down. I just think it's
their tongue coming out.
Yeah. I just think that still, I remember seeing the still of that face in a kind of video magazine or something in the early 80s and thinking, wow, that is a horrific image. And still to this day, I think it's one of the most horrific images in horror is that Deadite with its head in the cellar just looking out.
See, even though Army of Darkness is considered probably the most comedic and less scary, there's some scenes in that still, they seem like they are like. Do you remember the scene when he goes into the pit and you got the pit Deadite comes up? It kind of looks like the guy from RoboCop when he hit the acid in the face.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that. And then at the very end of the movie, when he goes back to his shop S Smart, and then the girl on the counter, she does a lot of flips and he's shooting her.
Yeah.
She was quite scary looking as well. She was like, "Oh, I'm coming for you." So yeah, there's some kind of scary moments in the prosthetics in all the films. Apart from Army of Darkness has got a lot of really bad CGI in it, but that aside, the prosthetics on all the Deadites are great, and they are similar quality to movies like Drag Me to Hell. You've got the old lady and stuff like that. So I think they've always looked scary, regardless if the film is scary or not. So yeah, I think the Deadites in all of the films have been really good. Obviously, Rise and 2013, they've not been as comical looking. They've been more zombie like.
Yeah.
But I think it works because of the tone of the movies. I think.
The one thing I have a problem with Army of Darkness is that they try to make us believe that people in suits were skeletons. At the end, whether you get this guy in a suit, he's just like telling him to bob back and forth. And then you could tell with some of the skeletons we're talking, there's robotic mechanisms in their jaw. You could see it. And they're like, I'll swallow it. I'll eat his bones. It's kind of like with Scary Movie 2, where what's her name said to Anna Faris's character, it's just a skeleton. Just go up and kick it.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys. I've not been able to figure it out, but Bill Moseley played the Deadite captain.
He did, yeah.
I don't know which one that was. I keep watching. I'm looking out for Bill Moseley, but I'm assuming that he's got a lot of makeup on. I don't recognize him. Do you know who
he's the one with the eye patch, where the scout was coming up and saying, tell him where the book is. And it's just he just has like the horns. That's him, just on the horse. But he really didn't have any speaking role. He was just there.
Yeah. Because I saw his IMDb page, and I'm like, he's not in Army of Darkness. And I watched it, and I'm like, I can't find him anywhere. But yeah, that's him. But I do like Evil Ash when he's got the face and stuff.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah,
that does look great.
And he obviously is a good character in the game and stuff like that that's out now. So. That's pretty cool. But when
you also have Ted Raimi playing two different people.
And
in
Army of Darkness.
Yeah. He was one of the knights that was really scared, He's like,
That's
what are we
right.
going to do? And then he became the you could depend on my steel. You know, it's when they were trying to regroup and everything. I mean,
All right.
and then he played.
Yeah.
Then he played at one of the Vash's co-workers at the end. So there was 3 people he
Oh
played.
yeah. I know that Sam Raimi was in. He was at the end of part 2 when he went into the medieval times and they shot it.
Oh,
in
right,
1987.
yeah,
Yes.
He was one of the knights that they lifted up the
Yeah,
mast.
yeah.
But I don't think when they redone that bit in Army of Darkness, I don't know if he was there or not. Can't remember. But he was
No.
definitely there. And
He told
Yeah.
his brother, "You're going to play 3 different people.
yeah,
You
yeah.
get 3 different paychecks."
He was happy with that anyway.
It's kind of like a Clint and Ron Howard type thing, isn't it? He just kind of brings him along for the ride all the time.
Yeah, you've
They
got
feel
his little
sorry for
brother
him?
in it.
Because
But like his parents are like, "Sam, bring your little brother Ted with you, will you?" "Oh, but Mom,
Yeah.
bring
What do
him."
he was in the Spider-Man films as well, working in the
Ed.
Daily, not the Daily Planet, the what do they
Daily
call
Bugle.
it? Daily Bugle. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. He was the guy who got told what to do all the time. He was also in a film with Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell in 1990, the one in the store with Scott Spiegel was in it as well.
Intruder.
Intruder, yeah.
Yeah, that's
That-
a good film. That's a great film.
That's very moody, that film. So that's
Yeah.
kind of early days of Sam Raimi and is it Scott Spiegel?
Scott Spiegel. Yeah.
Scott Spiegel,
Yeah.
yeah. So they were all related with
Oh, let's not forget Darkman too.
Yeah.
is Ted Raimi in that?
Yeah, he's the one who got pushed up in the manhole,
All right.
and the car, and
was
the
it?
truck tire came and roll over his head. And then Bruce Campbell is at the end, just doing a cameo.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think back of all the Evil Dead films, to me the most quotable Evil Dead film is Army of Darkness. Even though it might not be everyone's favorite, I just think maybe it's because I watched that one the most. But when you think of all the Evil Dead films, I just think of Army of Darkness because of the lines. He's almost like that Jack Burton of Big Trouble in Little China. The way he is, he's like the cool guy, but he's not really cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Can you guys quote any different? Have you got any more quotes than Army of Darkness? Evil Dead 2, maybe.
I think Evil Dead 2 is always the most quotable for me.
Mhm.
You know,
Baby, you got real ugly.
Did not say that in Army of Darkness as well?
Yeah, yeah. That's what we call pillow talk, baby.
Yeah.
I could probably quote all of them, really. Army of Darkness, I could quote a lot. I
Yeah.
could quote a lot. You want a little? Huh? How about you? You want a little? This is my boomstick. Any of you primitive primates even so much as touches me.
That was good, that bit. It's just the way he does it. He's like, huh?
Yeah. Huh? You want a little? Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's so good. Maybe
Stop me,
we'll-
Darren.
we'll-
Keep going.
No, keep going. Looking on to the box office now. Now, I didn't realize this. I didn't think this was possible, but it looks like it's going to beat 2013's Evil Dead at the box office. When I heard Evil Dead Rise was coming out, when I heard the synopsis, when I heard who was in it, who was directing it, I automatically thought this was going to be a straight to VOD on demand. That's the way I thought it was going, because Bruce Campbell wasn't coming back to be in it. Sam Raimi wasn't directing it. Ted Raimi wasn't even in it. They were all obviously involved behind the scenes, but I just thought this is going to be a film that's going to go straight to DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, and it just wasn't going to do well. And then when they said, "Do you know what? It's got a good response. Let's make it a cinematic release," I thought, okay, it'll probably make about $40 million, which is okay. It's double its budget, whatever. But I never in my wildest dreams ever thought it would make anywhere near $100 million. That's incredible for a film, for a fifth film in a franchise that doesn't have any of the previous stars in it. It's not connected to any of the previous films, meaning you can watch it on its own. It just had nothing going for it in terms of that on paper. But I was blown away by the box office numbers. Did you expect it?
It's currently at sitting at just over 50 in the US. Oh, it's about 50 in the US. And I look at my little system here that I have through work. It's going to end up around about 63. So it's doing great that's domestic, yeah, and then international is usually
it's the only one that matters.
International will probably be 40% of that, maybe. So you're right, yeah, it's probably going to be over 100 million globally for that. So
it's currently 92 million globally. So
well, the Asian countries like movies like these, right? They're into horror.
They don't always release them there, though. That's the problem. So if they're not released cinematically, then it'll make zero. And that tends to happen because they've got their own movies to release. You know, us releasing a Chinese movie is quite rare at the cinema. So for them to release a US movie is also quite rare, unless there's some sort of connection there, like that Matt Damon movie, The Great Wall. You know, there was a connection there.
The Great Turkey.
Yeah, so big films will get releases. I don't see Evil Dead even getting a release in places like China. But you never know. Maybe it will. Maybe there's a.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Army of Darkness was released in Japan and Korea first, I think, at the end of '92, and the US didn't get it till 1993 in February. So
yeah, again, there was that whole rights mess up that just screwed it for everybody. And I seem to think I was working at a Showcase cinema in '93, and we had Evil Dead, we had Army of Darkness on then. That would have been kind of early '93, I think. So it was a year maybe, because it was filmed. When was it filmed? It was filmed a little while before that, wasn't it? Army of Darkness.
Must have been early '92, late '91.
It was a quick filming. Yeah. They filmed it really quick. The studio did a lot of cuts to it, I think. They didn't give Sam the money he wanted.
We got different endings.
Yeah, there's how many different endings are there? There's two different endings.
What was the endings again?
So you have the Smart one, and then you have the Rip Van Winkle one. He goes to sleep in a cave, and then he wakes up, and everything's gone. You see Big Ben, the clock, all in London, all just in pieces. Like he just slept through the apocalypse, and he has this big heavy beard because he didn't say the words right again, and he took too much of the elixir. He's I want to go to sleep for a long time.
Yeah, so we only seen that alternate ending quite recently. I didn't see that back in the day. I think we only saw that on the special edition or something. It was filmed in May to August 1991.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was a good 2 years.
It was 2 years for us to get hold of it in the UK. Yeah.
Long time. Yeah, well, obviously with Evil Dead 1, we didn't get that for a good few years because, like you said, the video nasty era.
There's a pattern here, right?
Yeah. But it's weird because when, obviously, you've been from the UK as well, Darren, you'll know this, when Maggie Thatcher said, right, these 72 movies are banned, and they gave us a list of the 72 video nasties, and just to people who love horror films, we're like, okay, that's 72 films that I need to go and
I want to see. Yeah,
I've never heard
them more notorious.
Yeah, I've heard of 6 of these movies, so I need to go out and find the rest of the 66 films that I've never seen, and they're all shite anyway, but it's still good to see them all, and you want to get them, you want to have them, own them. I own all of them, I own almost all of them, and they're all crap, to be honest. Like, they're all,
you would have been put to death if you had them all back then at the same time.
Well, yeah.
Cigarette and blindfold.
I know a guy, Davey Dark, at Forgotten Horror Channel. I did an episode with him recently on his channel, and he's about the same age as me. And in the 80s, he got raided twice by the police looking for things like The Evil Dead and Cannibal Ferox and Cannibal Holocaust.
Not drugs or firearms.
No. All they wanted was the films. That was it. And he had them stashed in his loft, and he forgot. They were in his dad's house. They were stashed in the loft. The police never went up there, and he forgot. And years later, he went back to see if they were still there, and they were. And he has these pristine copies of all these nasties on VHS. And, I said to him the other day, I said, these are worth a fortune. Do you know how much people will pay for these now? And he just said, I'm not selling them. I'm keeping them. He got them all out on the show that we did. They're in fantastic condition.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them sell for like £200, £300 a piece. So if he's got...
Yeah.
See if you get 10 of them, that's £3,000.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
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 And
All for contraband.
Yeah.
Legal contraband now.
well, it is. Actually, then they're not legal because they're pre-cert. So they're the rating system in the UK that we had for VHS. So they still remain illegal if you like.
Pirated.
So
They're not pirated. They're just you. I mean, I don't think anyone will give a shit that you've got them because they're available anyway now. But you should have a BBFC 18 rating on them.
yeah, they need to be rated. But it's weird because in the US, US get unrated versions of movies, don't they? And you get them on Blu-ray and DVD. We don't get that in the UK. How is that possible that the MPAA don't do that, but the BBFC do?
Money.
No idea. Why can't we get unrated movies?
I think that I don't want to speak for Frank here, but the way I understand it is that you can choose to release a film unrated. The board in America is kind of advisory, whereas the board in the UK is like mandatory. So the board in the US, you can release a movie unrated, and Terrifier 2 went out unrated last year. The problem you've got is the bulk of MPAA cinemas won't play something that's unrated because I guess of moral standards and things like that. And so, like Paul Verhoeven's Showgirls completely tanked because nobody would play it. And that film went out unrated as well. So it's a sort of, it's a choice, you can do this, but it's kind of a black mark, I guess, on your movie. But then when it goes to DVD, people are after that stuff, So
yeah,
is that about right, Frank? Is that my understanding?
That's about right. Are they playing over there across the pond red band trailers in the cinemas? Do they play them?
I've not seen any.
They do, but they won't have a red band at the start because that's your rating card. Our rating would have to go through our rating system over here. So we do release red band trailers. They're not called red band trailers. It would be like a 15 or an 18 trailer. So yeah, it's a different rating system, altogether.
So now that what they're doing over here is like when you see Evil Dead Rise, they will throw at least 2 or 3 red band trailers in for movies coming out. They're getting past all that stuff. They're saying, okay, if you're going to go see a rated R movie, you're not going to go see the trailer for Little Mermaid attached to it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna want to see a red band trailer. It only makes, I think when they do that, it only makes the audience want to go see that movie that's coming out.
Yeah. There's big money that let's say big money. There are deals that are put into place for certain trailers to put in on certain films. Put it that way.
Yeah. I always found it weird that you would get the Flash trailer at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, for example. I thought that was a conflict of interest, but obviously it's not.
No, it's
cinema related?
Pandering to that audience, isn't it?
Absolutely.
There's no point in putting, like Frank said, I don't know, a Driving Miss Daisy trailer on Guardians of the Galaxy because it's just going to get no traction at all. So, but the problem is that there's so many kind of big, everybody wants their trailer on Guardians of the Galaxy. So it becomes a kind of, I guess, I don't want to say too much, it's my job. So it becomes a bun fight. Put it that way.
Is it like a bidding war? Is it like a bidding war?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, we'll stop it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always, whenever I go to the cinema to see a kids film with my kids, I just know that the 3 or 4 trailers that we're going to see are just going to look terrible because it's not my interest. But when I'm going to see a horror film, I just know that there's going to be a few trailers there that I'll be like, right, I want to see these trailers. Even though I've seen them online, I want to see them at the cinema as well because I enjoy watching the trailers. I used to, whenever I watched a film with my little brother, this is going back 15 years or so, I would download trailers from the Apple website. When Apple's done like Apple trailers, I would download like 2 or 3 film trailers and we would have a film ready to watch, and I would say to my brother, right, let's watch the 3 trailers first, like we're in the cinema, and then we'll watch the movie. And we would do that all the time. We watch a couple of trailers, then we'd watch the movie, and then we'd love it. And you feel like we're at the cinema. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good idea. Well, that's when you rented VHSs back in the 80s or whatever. You would have to sit through a series of trailers before you actually got to the film.
I loved that. I didn't mind
yeah.
that. And your X rentals as well. When you had your X rental VHSs, you could buy like your brand new VHS. They would have no trailers on them, but if you buy an X rental, it has your 4 or 5 trailers on them, and guaranteed one of those trailers was going to be for Armageddon. There was a trailer for Armageddon on every VHS I owned. It was, I think, the Jerry Bruckheimer Productions was a big thing back in the late 90s. So it was always, you always had that Armageddon trailer, guaranteed.
I miss those, right? Where you get your feature presentation.
Yeah,
will show up.
It's like a Disney, I think Disney owned Jerry Bruckheimer Productions or Touchstone Pictures or something like that.
They did, yeah.
A Buena Vista production, whatever you call it. So it was always Disney, Buena Vista, and stuff like that.
Now
Good
they own
time.
everything.
They do. Yeah, they own even more now, sadly. Going back to the box office numbers, though, it's looking like worldwide it's probably going to end at about $120 million, as in Evil Dead Rise. Because of that, I think we all know we're going to get another Evil Dead movie in the future. What do you see happening now? Do you think we're going to get a sequel to Evil Dead Rise, or do you think we're going to get another one-off movie that's not connected to that movie? Or could we see a sequel to a different Evil Dead film? There's so many options, but what do you think? Or 2 questions: what do you think will happen, and what do you think should happen?
Well, from what I understand, this is one of 3 books, if I'm not mistaken. There was a first book in 13. There's this book. So and then they're going to be probably a different story with another book. So you could actually take a different story, not connected to the other 2, and then bring them all together for a 4th final movie. You could do it that way. I want to see somewhere different again. We had the cabin, reintroduced the fans to what the Evil Dead franchise was. Now we put it, because I think what happened was with the box office was that Evil Dead 2013 made Evil Dead Rise's box office, inflated it. Those fans came back to see another Evil Dead movie. So I think that when they do another Evil Dead at about probably 2 years, or maybe they'll announce it, for next year. Who knows? Yeah. That seems to be the formula now. If it does good, make it again next year. I want to see them go somewhere else now. We were talking about this. Would it be nice to see it on a cruise? It'd be like it's transported somewhere. Someone brought it on, as luggage, and someone found it. One of the porters found it and started just opening up and just started reading from it. And you can see a dead-eyed captain like laughing, trying to ram it into an island or something. And they're on an island, Evil Dead, Castaway or something like that. And see Tom Hanks saying, "Wilson, we're saved." Well, the Deadite Wilson ball. Could you imagine just rolling around, eating people? I think that's what they should do. Make it to a different area. Get all these books together and see what happens when you get all these 3 books put together into a 4th and final movie. Oh my God, it should be spectacular. And then see if Bruce wants to do it. Give it about 10 years.
All joking aside, I think that sounds great. To be honest, a cruise ship, because that you would have that isolated feeling again. You can't go anywhere unless you want to just go and swim away and drown. And if you crash on an island, it's similar. You can't go anywhere. I think that's a great idea. Did you think of that just off the top of your head there, or did you think
just now? Actually,
9 times out of 10, that's better than what Hollywood are coming up with right now. That's brilliant. I really like that idea.
Because I thought about one of my favorite movies was Deep Rising. I love Deep Rising, and I love the. It's also claustrophobic, even though you're outside, but you can't go anywhere either. You're stuck, like you said. You either stay there or you swim. And cruise ships now, You know, and let's not talk about everything with a cruise ship. Usually involves a U-boat or something from World War II, or the Titanic. These cruise ships now are pretty huge, aren't they? They're huge. I mean, you could do stuff with the buffet and the showgirls, for Christ's sakes, and the magician, if you want to do something like that.
I'm trying to remember how the film ended now. Christ, it's only a few weeks since I saw it. Didn't it set up back in the woods or something at the end?
Well, it was like a wraparound story.
Yeah.
So the girl who was possessed at the beginning, she was going down to the parking lot. She actually lived in the building. So the beginning of the movie was set after the events of the high rise.
Yes.
So
yeah.
she got possessed at the end, and then the phone call came in from her friend, and then obviously she went there. So the film basically ended where it said Evil Dead Rise coming up when she came up out the water. So that would be an ideal place to start if they were going to do a sequel to Evil Dead Rise. They would go back to the cabin, and that's maybe why they introduced us to that cabin, because the cabin was very unique looking. So
but it looked like Center Parks.
Do you think so? It looked like something from Midsommar, to be honest. But the girl could have went up to the apartment. Well, she could have got possessed in the parking lot. She's now this deadite. Goes back up to the apartment, gets the book because she's now a deadite. Gets the book, goes to the cabin, puts it there, has that little kerfuffle at the start of the movie, and then that could be your sequel to that storyline if you wanted to use that book. That would, to me, would be the only way to move forward with that storyline. But I don't mind if they decide, let's just do another one-off story. Maybe one time we'll bring them all together. If we don't, we don't, as long as they're good. Because 2013, even though it felt like it could be part of a sequel, it still is a movie that you could watch without watching any of the other ones and enjoy it. So I think either way, I don't know personally what way they should or could go with it, but I'm happy if I trust whoever comes up with the next Evil Dead movie. I trust that they will do it justice, because they've not failed us yet, not at all. Even with Army of Darkness, for me, they've not failed us one bit. What do you think, Darren? Have you get any ideas apart from can you beat the cruise?
I'm open to anything. I think if it's going to continue this way, I don't want to shift in tone. I'd kind of like it to stay as it is.
Yeah.
I assumed that it was going to be, the setup for the cabin story.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. I think they've taken it away. It works. I think, it's going to be a novelty, like taking it somewhere else, like a cruise ship or a
cargo plane full of chickens.
Yeah. But anything like that, it's just going to be like another Evil Dead, the cruise, Chantal says there. Yeah. That could work. Why not? You know what I mean? I'm open to anything as long as it's a good film.
It could be a ride at MGM Studios.
They probably have one already. I'm really not fussed. I just want it to be a good film. That's it.
Yeah, but we don't want it to end, because the high rise was so successful. We don't want it to end up like the Final Destination movies, where we're counting on the location being the hot topic. We want the story to be the hot topic. So we don't want to go, the high rise was great. Where can we go next? And then if it is the cruise ship was great. Where can we go next? Can we go on top of Mount Everest? Can we do this? Can we go on a plane? So you don't want to keep on going and making the location be the main focus of an Evil Dead film. As much as I loved the high rise and the difference, it just shows that not setting in a cabin is a good idea. You don't have to limit yourself to the cabin each and every time.
Not at all.
So now we know that it works. Then yes, if you want to set it somewhere else, by all means do it, as long as the story is strong. If they want to go back to the cabin or a cabin, then I'm okay with that, as long as the story works and it's not as repetitive as Within the Woods, Evil Dead 2. Hospital's fine as well. That's pretty cool.
Could you see a Deadeye pushing some guy in a coma and the victim is pushing the Gertie back, and the guy just all of a sudden just wakes up. Where am I? And the Deadite says, "Shut up!" and just hits his head and just explodes or something like that.
I mean, you're kind of getting into Reanimator territory then, aren't you, with all that?
Well, this is where it's evolved, right? You got to do it gorier and better and kind of funnier. You know, I always thought, what happened if they made another cabin, or they built a house or a block of houses out of those raping trees from part one? Now all those homes are like Monster House.
We mentioned the other night, why not a shopping mall or something like that? There's the scene in not Armageddon, Army of Darkness, whereas they're in the S-Mart at the end. Why not put it in in a store or something? It's just kind of branch out somewhere.
A mall.
Yeah, well,
a mall. Why not? A mall.
Evil Alex said Evil Dead and S-Mart. Why not?
Yeah.
Imagine sitting in a shopping mall and it's like S-Mart. That'd be great.
In an Amazon facility. Everyone's getting the wrong orders.
Or they're sending out copies of the Necronomicon. Ooh.
Yeah. What is this? I didn't order this. I ordered a Cuisinart.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the ideas that I think because if it was set in the cabin again, whether it was good or not, we wouldn't know if setting it outside of a cabin would have been a good idea. But now Rises came out, now that most people enjoyed it. I've not seen anyone who hates it or thinks it's terrible, but most people enjoyed the film, and most people enjoyed the fact that it wasn't in a cabin. So I think now we know that they don't have to set it in a cabin. So the world's their oyster now. They can go and do what they've done in the cabin elsewhere, and it would work as long as the story's strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the characters too. I mean, you have a mother going after her own children, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
These aren't just friends, going after each other or anything. It's I didn't know if they had to put in the pregnant aunt aspect into that. It's kind of like I forgot about it throughout the whole movie. I mean, if she came in with this big belly or something like that, it'd be something different. That's all you'd be focusing on. But I don't know if he had to throw that in there to make this movie work.
Isn't it? That's all.
Yeah,
I think it's just fake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's her showing that she got something to live for, not just for herself. She's got her niece to help, and she's got herself and her own baby. Maybe they just also wanted to add in the fact that the Deadite would look at her and go, "Oh, there's two of you there, not just one." Maybe, yeah. So stakes is probably the main reason that they would add that in, to be honest.
What would you gentlemen think if that baby turns out to be the reincarnation of Ash? If they brought back, because it's been touched by a Deadite and everything, how in the second movie there was a prophecy about the guy falling from the sky and wiping out all the Deadites, which turned out to be Ash. What if they mix that in and saying this baby is a prophecy about a unborn child being touched by that Deadite is supposed to come back and wipe everything out in the fourth movie?
Chainsaw on its
born with a chainsaw
like that.
Yeah, naturally born, Darren, with a chainsaw first coming out, opening its mother, right?
That'd be a good idea.
That'd be a good idea.
I'm going to go to the chat as well. I know that some of the guys are talking to each other, which is cool. But I'll go to the chat as well and see what some people are saying about the movie or whatever else. So we've got Sean Warren. The Evil Dead film I watched the most has always been the original. Love the low budget creativity, effects, and atmosphere. That's something I love about Evil Dead. It does look dated because it is a 42-year-old movie, but when you look at the effects, even though the effects is dated, you can't really date atmosphere and creativity. If you've got the creativity in you, it doesn't matter how old it is. It works for me. And even though the effects are dated, today, watching effects today, it's all CGI. So you cannot always go back to the original one. And for a 42-year-old movie, what a film it is.
I think it's older than that, actually. I think it was filmed in the late 70s.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think amazingly, it's like, I think it's 44 years old.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they filmed it in the late 70s.
I mean,
But
stop
you're
motion
right.
and claymation too, right? That was charm.
It's all the more impressive that Sam Raimi was, like, I think he was born in 1957 or something, so he only would have been in his early 20s. So with Bruce Campbell, early 20s, when they were doing this, it's a young group of filmmakers that obviously doing it because they love it. They want to have a bit of fun and they're passionate about it. And that shows, when you look at a studio movie directed and produced by people who don't really care, they're just there for the paycheck, it comes across and you can tell. But when you get someone as young as Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi, you can tell that they're loving this. And if you love what you're doing, it shows in the final product. So I think that's what keeps the Evil Dead relevant today, because it's so good, especially for its time back in the late 70s and early 80s. It's great.
Yeah.
And they hold on to it like it's their own kid, don't they? Even though they're not starring in it, they're either with the screenplay or they're producing it, because I don't think they'll ever get out of the Evil Dead franchise ever. That's their baby. We'll let people take the reins, but I want to be there to make sure they don't F it up.
Yeah. Yeah, so they've always kept a good close eye on the movie since then. Obviously, with Evil Dead 2013, you've got Bruce Campbell there anyway, at the end of the movie. So yeah, they're always going to keep it close to them, knowing that this is their product. Even when they're doing other films, they've always got a little bit of Evil Dead in them. You've got the Spider-Man trilogy with the car, then you've got Drag Me to Hell with the way the camera moves and the Deadite moves. Everything's so Evil Dead in that. So they bring a little, they bring a little
and
Dead with
yeah,
Oz, the Great and Powerful.
Yeah, Sam Raimi's always doing it. Always, although he's got the thing with his car is in every film. There's even Spider-Man. There's a bit in the original Spider-Man when the Goblin's hand comes out of the ground.
Yeah,
and it's the same shot as the one in the original Evil Dead.
Yeah,
there's always a nod and a wink, but they're great ambassadors. Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi, even though they've kind of, all right, as you said before, they're always there. They're ambassadors for this franchise now. If you looked at the Q&As that were going around the US pre-release, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, even though Bruce Campbell has probably done pretty much bugger all on this film, is there drumming up support for it. He did a half an hour crowd warm-ups before the film started and everything. He's just relentless with this. He wants it to do well. And Frank mentioned earlier about him coming back. I don't know whether he needs to. Do we need him to come back? Is he just too old now? Is it?
He could be the voice of the baby, like Vin Diesel for Groot.
I am Ash.
Groovy.
Groovy. Yeah, I don't mind them not coming back. If they make them as good as the last couple, then fair enough. But I wouldn't say no. If they said to me, Bruce Campbell's coming back as Ash in the next film, I'm not going to go, oh, no, we don't want that. So it'd be interesting to see him. Don't know how well it's going to play if the film plays out as a serious movie, and then you get Ash coming in with one hand and saying this is my boomstick and stuff. So I don't know if they fit, but if they want to try, then I'm all ears. Going back to the Spider-Man trilogy, do you remember the scene in Spider-Man 2 with Dr. Octopus coming alive, his tentacles? Yeah. And then you see the camera work there, and then you see somebody try to get the saw off the table. It's just so Evil Dead. It's great. I think that's why I like the Spider-Man trilogy, because they've got that Evil Dead flavor all the way throughout, all three of the movies. It's great.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry. We've got Harry Hagen says they didn't have the rights to the first film, so in the recap, they loosely remake the first film, and then from the moment the camera crashes into Ash, it's a sequel. Yeah, I think that's the most common answer. Would you agree with that, guys?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah.
The studio knew this was going to be a big hit somewhere, so they're like, we ain't gonna give it back to you. All right, we'll do something else. We'll do it the same.
What was the rights issue with Army of Darkness? Was it? I don't know if it was Sony or Columbia.
I've got to cast my mind back now. I think it Army of Darkness was Columbia, but I'm wondering if Army of Darkness originally was a Orion picture or something along those lines, and Orion went bankrupt.
That makes sense.
Let's. I wonder if we can see.
It started out as a Dino movie, Dino De Laurentiis. And
Yeah, I'm just reading now.
Renaissance Pictures and Introvision International, Universal.
Can you
There was definitely a delay in it coming out for some reason. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, if it was Dino De Laurentiis, man, he just messes up every movie.
Well, yeah, Dino De Laurentiis was the...
Oh, that was it. So it says, Raimi needed $3 million to finish his film, but Universal was not willing to give him the money and delayed its release due to a dispute with De Laurentiis over the rights of the Hannibal Lecter character, which Universal needed so they could film a sequel to Silence of the Lambs.
So they held this movie hostage.
Yeah. The matter was finally resolved, but the release date for Army of Darkness was pushed back from summer of 92 to February 1993. And which obviously Columbia picked it up and helped him finish the movie.
That's Dino, man. He's always getting his hands and stuff, and fucking everything up.
It's like a 90s Weinstein company.
Well, that's we talked about this before, Barry, Darren, and I. When anytime you get Dino involved, he bring his own crew that didn't speak any English, and there was always. It was always Italians and people who could speak English, just muttering about, had no idea what to do. And it would delay everything by at least 3 weeks.
My best friend was a runner on the original Flash Gordon film that was filming in 1980. And his first job it was his first ever job, and his job was to make Dino's tea. And Dino had like a measuring stick that he would put at the side of the cup of tea, and if it was too low or too high, then you would know about it. And the first cup of tea he took in for him, he put it on his desk, and as he was walking out of the room, Dino turned around and went, "Wait there!" And it was too high or too low, I don't know which, and he threw a hot cup of tea at him across the room.
Did you know that reminds me of? For the first time ever, I watched a movie called Mulholland Drive. Have you seen Mulholland Drive?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene in that sounds very similar to that, where the guy's got a cup of tea made for him, and he's drinking the tea. He's making the tea for him. He's like, "Oh, I made it just right," and he made it, and he spat it out on his thingy. And that's the last I ever saw that guy.
Perfect.
Next, we've got DMM 250678. Is that your sort code? I somehow rented the original from a video shop in 1988 after it was banned in 1983. I went back to rent it again to show my butt. To show my butt. But the shop removed it from the shelf and told me it was banned. Yeah, I think there was some stores that I went to when I was younger. They had banned films, but they shouldn't have. But it wasn't like official Blockbusters or anything like that. It was like we had little shops,
mom and
corner shops, things like that. Yeah.
And they had like 50 movies there, and they had one copy of each. And
so they were like naive to it. They were just like, "Oh, we didn't."
Yeah,
know.
they just probably never got communicated to them.
Yeah. They probably genuinely didn't know. They maybe didn't know
that's it. Yeah.
So it's quite a gem when you find a film. You're like, I've been looking for that in Blockbuster or Global Video for years. And then I go into a little corner shop and they've got it sitting there. I'm like, ooh, I'll rent that.
And then the police come and throw a Marvel cocktail at it to burn the establishment down.
Darren, did you have Global Video in England?
Yeah,
you did. Yeah,
Global Video, Ritz Video, and Blockbuster Video. Yeah,
so did we. That was the three big ones. But Global was the one that I went to most before Blockbuster became bigger in the UK. But Global had a really good selection of horror films when I was there, because they always had films that didn't have a rating on them. I'm guessing it was just the cover and not the actual rating itself. But they always had films that didn't have ratings on it. And I would go to those ones and show it to my parents. Because if they had one that had an 18 or a 15 on it, I would say, "Can I rent that?" And we'd go, "No, it's an 18, put it back." But if I picked up a VHS that didn't have the rating on it, I would go, right, please, 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 can I rate this? And show them it quickly. And they're like, no. Oh,
Oh, you're too
those are-
smart for me.
yeah, those are good. Here's a VHS question. Back to the retro. Simon says, biggest comfort nostalgic VHS cover. Mine's is the UK version of A Nightmare on Elm Street or Animal House. What's your VHS cover that you go to, guys?
Ooh. I mean, this was one of the things we were talking about with Davey on the Forgotten Horror channel the other day. Was the artwork of the 80s, and I've got a book somewhere, which is one, and I bought this for Frank as well, which is called The Art of the Nasty.
Yeah.
And this is a book that's been brought out a number of times over the years because they keep updating it. And it is literally, if I can show you, it is every kind of video nasty movie that was released in the UK and all the different sleeves. And I'll show you one, which is not a film I gravitated to, but it's the kind of thing that we had to put up with in the UK, which was there was no regulation on video sleeves at all. And there's one particular film that really stayed in my mind, which is this one. And I never saw it, but I just thought, Jesus, if this was on the shelves today, we would be in a lot of trouble. And it's a movie called, if I can hold this up.
Oh yeah, Violation of the Bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, we all know that one.
Yeah.
Look at the tag. Look at the tagline.
She asked for it. 2 seconds.
That's a poster, isn't it?
But this book is my Bible. This has got everything that you could ever want to know about horror in the 80s in it. And,
I'll need to pick that book up. That looks really good. I've got this book here, which is a really good book as well. VHS video cover art. You seen that one before?
Oh, I've never seen that.
Now,
Oh, that's cool.
wait you see what it looks like inside. It's basically a scans of the VHS covers. So
Oh, that's cool. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
and it's got a lot of the old band movies as well, which is great. It's got horror.
They're the
section.
original.
Yeah, this is all the original, like Neon Maniacs, Nightmare Vacation. It's great. It's fantastic, and they've got a lot of the old kind of band ones in there as well. I really
I'm
like
gonna
this.
have to pick that up. Is that British? Book?
It's not, but you can get it on Amazon.co.uk. Kind of like the old video stores, the way they set it out.
Oh, the old
Fantastic.
shelves. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's a top quality book. It's the Thomas Hodge, the Dude Designs. I don't know if you heard of him before, but he does really good artwork. And so he decided to pick his favorite VHS covers and put them all in one book. And it's amazing, nice and heavy. It wasn't that expensive. It's about £26 or something like that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
So
so
I'm gonna have to look at that.
$30 or so, but yeah, it's a top quality book, and that's got a lot of old classics in it as well that you forget about when you look at the VHS covers, because they were all great back in the days, weren't they? That's what you didn't have online trailers, or they couldn't afford to pay for Super Bowl spots, so they had to get you with that VHS cover. But going back to the question, his biggest comfort nostalgia VHS cover, what have you got one that springs to mind?
Well, I got two, and I was telling Darren about doing a video of this. I like Death Spa. I think it's one of my comfort. It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious. You know, someone working out in a sauna. She's a skull. It's somebody on the butterfly machine where his arms are cracking in the back. Oh, and for me, it's the old cover for The Stuff. With the killer yogurt coming out of the refrigerator, eating the family on the floor. I think that's hilarious, and they're screaming. Those are my two favorite covers, because everything was. If you take like movies like RoboCop or Halloween, it's usually just the killers right in front. But it's something that gives me a little bit of mystery. I kind of like.
I think certainly I mentioned this earlier in different contexts, but the Flash Gordon VHS. I think did Frazetti do the the artwork for Flash Gordon, Frank?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic artwork on the cover of that.
It's like a romance novel.
Well, oh no, the one we had in the UK was something completely different.
Oh, didn't have a girl wrapped around his leg with a big laser in his hand.
Could have been, but I'm not sure whether it was the same artwork.
You're talking about the one with him with the sword, right? Running.
No. That was
the US version.
Yeah. And also, Halloween 2 was always a video shop kind of thing that I homed into because it stood out so well on the shelves. That yellow, the orange pumpkin with a skull on it, and that great picture of the firewalk on the back and everything. I don't know if it was the same in the US, but certainly over here it was one of those go-tos for me on the shelf.
Yeah, I think.
Come on, Darren, the stuff.
The stuff was a good cover. For me, it was more the ones that I went to were all quite similar. I went to Fright Night. I went to The Return of the Living Dead Part 2, People Under the Stairs. Did you see the connection there? So you've got this kind of like a house or something down below, and then in the sky you've got a head or a skull or a zombie, something in the sky. That was the covers that I always went to. Those 3 movies that always looked in the video store and I went, I want to rent that, I want to rent that, and I want to rent that. I think for me as well, I always looked at the back covers because for me as a kid, I was like, I want to see some boobies. And I always looked at the back cover and you always saw them on the back cover. Oh yes. So you'd say to your parents, can I rent this? And you would cover it and go, this.
Can I have Slumber Party Massacre? I don't know.
Just hide the cover. I'll rent this. Looks so fast. Yeah, I think nostalgic VHS covers for me it's a big part of my life. Even today, I think they
you create them, don't you?
Well,
you create.
I do. I've not done it for a while, to be honest. But yeah, I take old VHS cover art and try and update it to 4K or Blu-ray, but still give it the same style as the VHS covers. So you've got an updated cover, but with a nostalgic look to it.
Yeah, but you don't go just crowd it or the cover by putting 17 characters in the on the cover with just a person holding a knife. It must be one of these guys. I don't know.
It's rubbish that you see covers like that these days. I know that some artists now are getting commissioned to do some really good artwork. Like you've got the Arrow video covers that are really good now and Scream Factory. So I think they're becoming a little bit better than they were recently. But I think because they're all like that now, they're starting to become a little bit annoying where you've got these covers that they're made to look old.
The thing is that studios spend a lot of money on talent these days. And, for them, they have to have them front and center on a poster. And that's really important. Like you would never get these days, like, the original Batman 1989 VHS, which just had the bat symbol on it, which was just brilliant. Halloween 2, as I said before, the pumpkin and that. Nowadays, we've paid for Jamie Lee Curtis. She has to be on the poster. We've paid for Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. They've got to be front and center. There's just nothing subtle anymore. Everything has to be front and center because these are our stars. We don't want to confuse people with a logo or an emblem or, just a knife or something like that. That's not good enough.
Unless they're newcomers, right? Then nobody knows their name. They'll throw in a knife stabbed in a happy birthday cake or happy death day to you would be, what was the happy death day? Wasn't that just a cake with the baby face and that was it?
Yeah.
So that was actually because there was really no, I guess, A-listers at the time. So
pretty much, yeah.
I like the subtlety and everything, to be honest. Or this T-shirt. This is a Scream T-shirt, but I don't tell anyone, and I wouldn't want anybody to guess. If you know, you know.
Is that one of Last Exit to Nowhere or something?
That's Randy's T-shirt in the video store.
The video store.
Did you create that, or is it?
No, I got it from a website. I was going to create it until I saw that someone was actually making them. So I bought it. So
they already cornered the market, Barry.
But the company that made this is the same company that sent the T-shirt to Scream. So see the T-shirt you see in the shrine.
Mm-hmm.
That's the exact same one. Same company that
Oh,
made
okay.
that made this.
Cool.
Can't remember their name. I'll let you
Is
know.
it
But
Last
yeah,
Exit
so
to Nowhere?
I can't remember.
They do the best kind of subtle, subtle nod movie T-shirts, I think.
I'll double check and let you know.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
that's what I like, the subtlety behind things. I don't like to say this is from Scream. I don't like to look at a cover and have to know everybody that's in it. Because today you see a movie cover, you know who's in it, and you can guess what the film is about just by looking at the cover itself. Whereas, like you said, back in the day, all you needed was that Batman logo. All you needed was that pumpkin, and that sold you back in the day to what you wanted to see. If you really needed to, put who's on it, put who's in it on the cover, like Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance. Then you're drawn towards it. But nowadays, they need to. It's like painting by numbers. Not only do you have to get who's in it by name, you have to see them. Not only do you have to see them, you have to see them in action. And you're like, why do I need to see 17 people in a poster? It's not for me, to be honest.
Or you get somebody who's like the main star that you're going to go see, because Clint Eastwood was always the star. That's all you ever needed on the cover. That was it. You didn't care about anybody else. Unforgiven, he was the only one. Dirty Harry, he was the only one on the cover because he was the main draw.
Yeah.
Because there really was no stars around each other. Like egos would kick in a little bit. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, they always had a poster with everybody in it. But that's really a team movie, isn't it? So that's there's a reason why they'd be on there.
Yeah. Next question. We've got Tyler Singleton. It says, after watching Skinamarink, my question is, what recent film have you seen recently that was disappointing or didn't match the hype? Is there a film that's that for you guys this year? I know I've definitely got one.
Scream.
What? Oh, Scream.
The last Scream movie.
Oh,
Scream.
I thought you said Cream.
That's a different rental store.
We're back to what you were trying to rent with your folks, Barry. I think there was such a big opportunity with Scream, and I was so disappointed with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Scream, but that'd be obvious for me. I had high expectations for Renfield. It just wasn't met. Still enjoyable, but I thought they could do a little bit more with it. Yeah, still a good movie, but yeah, it just bombed, didn't it, at the box office? It's now on coming to VOD.
Yeah, I've not seen that one yet. I'll definitely watch that one. It looks okay, but it's not one I wanted to rush and see either. So the one that disappointed me the most, because it got good reviews, was the Outwaters. You heard of that one? It was diabolical.
I haven't actually.
No, it's a found footage movie, and I couldn't tell you what it's about. I watched it and I was confused. I'm like, is it supposed to be like this? Are we supposed to guess for ourselves? The film was just total shit. It was awful. Honestly, I
confusing.
It's confusing, shit, bad, terrible. Do you know, at the beginning of the film, it looked like it was going to go somewhere. I was like, do you know what? Okay, found footage is kind of past it now, but I'll give this a chance because it got a good score. So I watched it and I'm like, 25 minutes into it, I was lost. And then an hour into it, I was like, what the hell's happening? And then when the film finished, I was like, you're kidding me on here. This is the worst film I've seen in years.
Was it as bad as, because I always remember your review for Miyazaki's remake or sequel to I Spit on Your Grave.
It's weird that you said that, because I've got the house to myself for the weekend, I'm going to watch all the I Spit on Your Grave movies again, apart from
all
that
of them.
one. Yeah, apart from the 2019 one. That was a terrible film, but that's like The Godfather compared to The Outwaters.
Oh, right. Okay.
I shit you not. I even urge you to watch it just to see how bad it is. I did mention online that I didn't like the film, and I had a person contact me saying, how dare you do this? You're a critic. You shouldn't be saying this. I'm like, well, for one, I'm not a professional critic. I can say what I want. And even if I was, I'm just being honest. The film was absolute dog shit. It was terrible. I don't have, I try and be constructive about films. I try and give a positive spin on every bad film. But even I Spit on Your Grave, Deja Vu, I gave a positive point to say that it still felt similar to the original. That was a positive point. But The Outwaters, no, can't say anything positive about it. It was complete dog shit. And that's as nice as I can put it. So yeah, Scream wasn't the one that disappointed me most because I had the unfortunate opportunity to see The Outwaters. Wasn't it?
Guys,
Sorry,
I'm really sorry. I've something. I was talking to you before. Something's come up work-wise, which I'm going to have to go and deal with.
That's okay.
Thank you so much, Barry, for having me on. And I shall speak to you guys too soon.
Right,
Big apologies, but I need to rush.
Bye.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Okay, cheers. Thanks.
Go away. Okay, we can stay for another 10 minutes or so, Frank. I was actually going to just say to Darren, we're going to go soon anyway, but if you got 10 more minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. I got all the time we need.
Yeah, just going to go through a couple more questions and then we can shut up shop. We'll go Jordan Moran, get a question. Could you see Rob Zombie successfully take over an established franchise and do a good job? And if so, which one? Well, he done the Monsters. I've not seen the Monsters, so I couldn't really comment, but I don't know.
It's hard because Rob has a particular taste, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think it has to be grimy.
Yeah. I mean, he can really make people throw up if he did like the Care Bears or My Little Pony, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like really, it would have to be something to his taste. Because if you take something, as beloved, let's say, as like the Addams Family or the Munsters, and he just twists it to what people love about it, where you just don't like it. Mm-hmm. I mean, could you see him ever doing like a Nightmare on Elm Street series or something to, it would be just so gritty and maybe something like something like Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave or Hills Have Eyes, but those are all Craven movies. They would the two of them. That seems to be the way he would like to go. I could see him do a Hills Have Eyes. I could see him do that.
Yeah, I would say that as well because it's more about the actions that take place in the movies rather than the story itself. So yeah, I think I would see him doing something like that. Maybe something like, I don't know, like a reboot or a sequel to Hostel, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Films that have got a lot of gore, maybe some language.
Violation.
That kind of stuff, exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
I see him doing that kind of stuff. When you look at the Video Nasties list that we've got in the UK of all the banned films, he could probably direct all of them as his own type of movie because that's his style. But when it comes to like movies like The Munsters, again, I've not seen it, so I can't comment, but it just doesn't look like his type of film. Have you seen The Munsters?
No, I didn't hear good things, but I'm going to watch it anyway. But he grew up loving The Munsters. That's why he did it. It's kind of like, Gus Van Sant, not Gus Van Sant, but saying that I remade Psycho so no one else could do it. They were just like, well, why would you do that? But he's got a particular taste. He likes those violation. He's this close to remaking Blackula or Frankenhooker. Something outrageous that he shouldn't touch.
We've got, here it is. We've got No Holding Back says, congrats on the Devils beating the Rangers. Is that
we'll see how far they got. It's hockey, NHL hockey. Yeah,
that's weird. I loved hockey when I was younger. NHL hockey. We got it at 4 a.m. because of the time difference. My team was Colorado Avalanche.
Mm-hmm. They won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they were decent at the time. I think it was like late 90s. I got really into NHL. We played street hockey out in the street. We watched the Mighty Ducks trilogy every single day, and we'd go out and quack, quack, quack. I loved NHL when I was younger. I watched the Stanley Cup, and
Is
I noticed
rollerblading a big thing?
it
Still?
was back in the 90s, yeah. Well, but is it a big thing there?
Still is. You know,
Still
people
is,
like
yeah.
it's still people with the skates on and everything still rolling around. I mean, street hockey is still big over here. People play in the parks. Of course, it's an outdoor, so you have to wait for particular weather unless you're going inside. But if we're not rollerblading, we're ice skating, and we have the
Yeah.
indoor ice rinks. But yeah, hockey seems to be kind of that sport that sits in the middle between American football and baseball, with basketball being over to the right or the left. But yeah, when it wants to, you don't watch it until your local team actually gets further than you thought. And then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'll watch it. It's usually the playoffs.
Who's your team? Who's your NHL team?
I like the Devils, New Jersey Devils. Yeah, other than that, I really don't follow it sports too much unless it's the New York Yankees, which we all know is world recognized.
Yeah. Well, I've got a Yankees cap.
It's a
somewhere.
pretty penny over there, isn't it? If you buy one off the shelf.
Yeah. It's about £30, so about maybe $35 to $40.
That's about the same over here.
Oh, is it? Oh well, that's not too bad then. I
It's
did
like $50. You're like, oh God, why am I buying this?
although I did get a custom made one that cost me £60. It must have been
Uh-oh.
about $70. Hold on.
Yeah.
So this is a custom made one. Do you get Mitchell and Ness?
No, not over there.
What?
No, it's usually
It's quite a big name, but I got my logo
Oh.
put on it.
embroidered, huh?
Yeah, it's really nice quality as well. But yeah, it's only one that I bought because it was $60. I can get cheaper ones that are not Mitchell and Ness if I want to sell them.
But you don't wear it too much, right? You can see the brim is kind of still.
It's still quite, it's brand new still. So, and it's too high for my head. It's a very tall hat. It looks like a top hat. Yeah, it's a nice hat. But yeah, NHL it's something that I watched when I was younger. I still would. If an NHL game came on, I would still watch it. I know the teams as well, and I remembered all the players from back in the day, which was great. You know, you had Peter Forsberg, Patrick Roy, obviously Wayne Gretzky was playing for New York Rangers at the time, I think.
Mark Messier, all them,
Yeah.
all them
And
people.
I used to collect the figures. We had can't remember what company it was. Might have been Movie
Starter?
Maniacs. I can't remember. It came with a bit of ice, like not ice, but it looked like they were on ice.
Oh yeah, it was the Todd McFarlane stuff.
Todd McFarlane, yeah, that's the company.
Yeah.
And you would stick them on there and hit the little hockey stick. I used to get all of them.
So you had it's pronounced Roy if you want to be American, the goalie for the Avalanche
Patrick
back
Roy.
in the day.
I thought it was Patrick Roy. Is it not French? Canadian?
Yeah, he's Roy.
Or Roy, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's like,
him.
no, you're Roy over here.
Yeah, oh well. So yeah, I had him as well. I thought NHL was more popular in Canada.
And Russia too, probably, right? You would think.
I would guess so, yeah, because of the whole Canada and Russia. You seen Miracle? Kurt
Yeah.
Russell?
Yep.
That was a good movie.
Yeah, and then most of the names now we can't pronounce over here, so
Yeah.
that's why.
Oh well. Yeah, I was crying my eyes out with that one. It was a really good film. Everybody's talking about Army of Darkness. Evil Art says Army of Darkness is actually my favourite. Love the fantasy time travel, crazy horror comedy mix. Yeah, do you know my favourite film is Back to the Future. I love Terminator 2. I love the butterfly effect. So anything with kind of time travel interests me as well. And it seemed like the Evil Dead films were alluding to that at the end of obviously Evil Dead 2. So I quite like that idea of the time travel. Did you see it coming, or did you want to see time travel in the film?
Oh, I think I love time travel. One of my favorite TV shows growing up was Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
With Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. You can put time travel in a horror movie. I'm there. Waxworks 2 is a great time travel.
A time travel movie?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
because he has the little stopwatch and he's going into different parts of movies, but they're set back in different times, right? So you have Frankenstein's castle, which would be set in, I think, like the 1840s or 50s or something like that. Then he's going into the future in space with like an alien creature, and they're going through
I've
different.
seen that then.
I think it's called what is it? Waxworks 2 Time something. Someone in the chat will probably bring it up.
Is Thingy in that? Him from the Gremlins, Zach.
Galfin?
Is he in the first Black
He's
Swan?
in both of them. Yeah, he's in first and second one.
Ah, right.
It's a pretty sad thing because he was at for the Love of Horror, wasn't he? Nobody over here when he went to Monster Mania, nobody was lined up for his autograph.
It's the same here. That's why he carries about the little gremlin with him, the little mogwai, because without it, we don't know who he is. But as soon as he lifts it up, we're like, oh, gremlins.
Because Dara was telling me they were on stage. He was talking about Gremlins, and then he had Art the Clown above him, going like this, putting his arms out. It took away all his thunder.
Yeah, that's a shame. I don't even think David Howard Thornton thought everyone was going to look up, but he did it anyway. So everyone's like, "Oh, there's Gremlins, man! Oh, there's Art the Clown," and he's like, "Oh, Mugwai." Yeah, that was a shame for him. We've got Shamrock Balls says, "Oh my jaws." But the Batman VHS may be my nostalgic favourite. My first original VHS, the bat symbol with Nicholson, Keaton above it, and Batman below it. I love it.
All you needed it. That's all you need, right? Just a symbol. Yeah. I don't think in some posters they just had just the symbol and that was it.
Yeah, that's all we had in the UK, and that was enough to, you didn't get 15 comic book movies out every year. So when you got that symbol for a film like Superman in 1978, everyone wanted to see it. And then you get Batman 11 years later. So you're like, right, that's all we need to know. It's a Batman movie. Let's go and see it. And what a film that was. That was a great film. Oh, Darren's not here, but it's that book that I've got is $26.99.
A bargain. It really is. It's good.
It's great. And obviously, it's not a story. You don't read anything. It's just artwork. And if you're into your artwork, then it's a really good one. Jordan Moran comes back and says, I like the Gate house and the Video Dead artwork. And the original Evil Dead artwork is amazing with all the green and possessed person. Yeah, all those artworks are great. I've actually got the Gate and the Gate 2 on Blu-ray there. And I love the covers. In the house, I've got the house box set, the finger, ding dong, you're dead.
Simple, right? But it was just, it made you want to watch it.
Exactly.
Like, is this hand in there? And it wasn't. But it was, I don't think there's even a doorbell in it.
No, there's not. Well, you don't hear. I don't think you hear a doorbell going. And then you get House 2. It's just literally, I think it's like that or something.
Yeah.
Hand.
Yeah.
House 2, the second. There was actually a poster for House 4. And I think it had the pizza face on it. Have you seen House 4?
Yeah. It's a forgettable movie though.
Yeah, so there's a scene in it where the guy's face is in a pizza. Makes me want a pizza. And there's a poster of the pizza face as well. Again, they're all nostalgic. Everyone that you said there, Jordan. The Video Dead as well, with I think it's the zombie thing coming out of the VHS tape. The sort of kind of mushed up zombie looking thing.
Well, my wife is terrified of the Gate.
Really?
Terrified of it. She hates the little demons, the little minions.
Oh yeah,
terrified of them. Because there was that part where Terrence stepped on one of them, and it was just frailing back and forth. She's a little scared to death because they were actually actors in suits. And right. Everything was made big, and they were just. She's terrified. She's like, "We're not watching The Gate ever in this house."
There's thingies in that. Stephen Dorff, he plays the little kid.
Yep. One of his first roles. Yeah. And then he went on to go date Britney Spears later.
Did he? Also, he was in the music video. Thingies in it as well. Did you ever watch The OC?
Yes.
Kirsten, the mum. She was one of the teenage girls in it as well.
They all have gone to bigger and better things since The Gate.
Well, yeah, some of them. Evil Alex says, I finally saw Clive Barker's Nightbreed the other day.
Ooh.
Loved it. Did you guys ever see that? Have you seen Nightbreed?
Oh yeah, I love it. Didn't they make the what's it called, the Cabal cut, which is actually 2 hours longer?
Yep.
It's like 3 hours long.
I've still not seen that version. I've seen 2 versions of the movie. I've seen one version that's the theatrical cut where all the people, what we call them, the people in Meridian are evil. But then I saw the other cut, the director's cut, which makes you sympathize with them. So they're not the bad guys.
Yeah, they're
basically.
outcasts. Yeah.
They're the outcasts. So I've seen those two versions, but I've yet to see the Cabal cut that's got a mix of everything plus extra. So I've not seen that one yet, but I don't know if I could sit through 2.5 hours of it, to be honest.
Well, you got the whole house to yourself.
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. I need to use that time wisely. I've got The Last House on the Left that I'm going to be watching, which is the remake.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to go and do the remake of I Spit on Your Grave, part 2 and part 3 of that. And then I'm going to do the original I Spit on Your Grave, because I noticed that I'd done the original The Last House on the Left review, but not the remake. And then I'd done randomly I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu review. So I've yet to do the rest of them. So I'll be
So
doing
you're
that.
not going to be you're not going to be wasting time watching the whole Marvel Avengers movies, right? In order.
Absolutely not. No, that's out of the question. Out of the question. I'll do a couple more and then we can call it a day. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yep. Cynthia says, "What if they come up with a hockey horror movie?" Well, we've got Jason Voorhees, have we not? Is there a hockey related horror movie out there?
I don't know. They got Edge of the Axe, which was they got a guy with kind of a hockey mask on.
Oh
but,
yeah, yeah.
But you could do. Could you imagine like a Mighty Ducks horror movie?
That'd be good.
Dogma, had little hockey horror kids in it.
And have a shit demon.
Yeah, the shit team. I love Dogma. I think Dogma. It's kind of a turn your nose up to religion by putting everything upside down, but it's not like it defiles it in any way.
No, it does it in a fun way.
Yeah. The whole thing about JC being black and Rufus was the 13th apostle. That he gets written out of the books. Do you have a shit demon, Barry? Do you have a buddy Jesus?
No. Buddy Christ.
Buddy Christ. That's right, Buddy Christ.
I might put it on my dashboard.
But some people would be offended by that now, wouldn't they?
Probably, but I don't care. I'm not, like I said, I'm not religious, so it doesn't bother me. Well, we've got
Buddy
Dave.
Christ.
Is this Dave McRae? Barry, are you in a different location?
No, you're still in your house, right?
Yeah, still in my house.
You're still on Earth.
I'm still here. No, I'm still in my same house, same office. This is just a small office, to be honest, that I've turned into my studio. Like I've said in a few videos that my old studio was in my loft, but I've converted that into my bedroom now, and it was huge. So I've made this spare room my new office.
And your wife likes it that way.
She likes it that way. Keeps all this stuff out of her face. She doesn't like to see all this stuff.
And all her stuff in the loft now.
Yeah, because we got another cupboard built in the loft as well, and that's for her. So she's got all her like lady things in there that I don't go near because it's
No, I don't either. Behind me is my wife's dresser, which happens that drawers don't become closed for some reason. I don't know why.
Every time I watch a video with you and Darren in it, you've got one extra cardboard cutout at the back. where do you get them?
They're custom made. I have a guy who customizes them. He won't do nudity, but I think with the next one I have, he might make an exception too. But of course, I got my grandfather right here.
That's a good one. The best is obviously Cops Do It By the Book. That's my fake Kelly Mika.
Yeah, I hope she comes to the 45th. Oh, please, God.
Well,
I ain't gonna drag that with me though. That'd be creepy, wouldn't it?
get her to sign it. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm guessing though, if you're wanting a nude one, would it be her from Return of the Living Dead?
I don't know.
There's not many iconic nude standees that you would need to have.
No, there's one. I mentioned it before, but maybe I'll go for not nude, but a Connell Cochran. Could you imagine a nude, Dan O'Herlihy, for Christ's sakes, in the back? I ain't gonna do that because he was shirtless in Robinson Crusoe. I ain't gonna get that standee. Carl Cochran, dude.
Ooh.
Ugh.
There's a little Irish actor. He wasn't in Season of the Witch, but he felt like he fits in there. Do you remember the Burbs?
Yes.
Yeah. Remember the little surgeon man?
Oh yeah.
Klopex?
Yeah. The Klopex. He's always in every Joe Dante movie.
Yeah,
He was in
him.
Inner Space. And he was in Gremlins 2 where he got fired for smoking.
The man with the grey hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get a cardboard cut out of him. Nude.
Get him nude. All shirtless.
Yeah. That'd be a nice one. David James says, is Clive Barker's Lord of Illusion worth a watch? That's one movie I've never seen.
It's grown up. You wouldn't think it's a Clive Barker movie. The illusions are dated. You could tell that they've been smoothed out and shined up. You could get through it.
Did he direct it?
Yes,
Right.
or he at least wrote it, of course.
Right.
But he was just it's a problem. I don't think the studios ever let some of these people go further than they want to.
Yeah. I know that Lord of Illusion has an actor in it called Kevin J. O'Connor. In fact, you will know him. He's in Deep Rising.
Yeah.
He's in all the Stephen Sommers movies. He's in The Mummy. He's a good actor, but I'm sure he's in that film. That's the only thing I know about the movie is that Kevin J. O'Connor is in it. That's it.
Yeah, he plays a guy named Swan. Why is everybody named Swan in a movie?
Stop looking at me, Swan. Let's see. We've got Rosalie is in. She says, going to watch the Mexican folklore La Llorona for Cinco de Mayo. Did you like my pronunciation of that? Is that right? La Llorona?
I think that's right. Rosie would know.
Yeah.
What it wasn't for Cinco de Mayo. We would watch Devil's Backbone, something with Guillermo del Toro. Something
Mexican.
Yeah. I think that's the one with the kid at the orphanage, and he's a ghost.
Never seen it. I know what that is. I've never seen it before. I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah, the cover would be a pale kid with real blacked out eyes. But Guillermo does some great stuff anyway.
Yeah, very visual.
Have you seen Pinocchio yet?
No. Is it good?
I heard it's terrifying.
Yeah, it's not your classical Disney style, is it?
No, I don't think that's something you want to show the kids, right?
No. I have seen Coco though. Coco's good.
That's more kiddish, right?
Yeah, but it's fun. I quite like the South American. I know that Mexico's not South American. That's Middle America, isn't it? Central America. But I like all that stuff. Very traditional. They take it all seriously, and I think I was inspired by Coco. I think Coco's a great film, and I'm sure Rosalie would agree that it's very Mexican. Oh, she did say it. Perfect, Barry. Must be right. So La Llorona for Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo is
the way you do the R's. That's what it is.
Is that what it is? Llorona?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that I've seen a lot of people doing a review for the Curse of La Llorona, and they would say that the Curse of La Llorona, and then you'd see a lot of Mexican folks saying that's not how you pronounce it. That's rubbish.
How dare you?
Yeah, so you need to get it right. I would expect people to say Scottish words in a Scottish way. So I have to give it back as well. So if somebody wants me to pronounce something in their
it's like
language,
aluminum and aluminium.
Aluminum.
It's aluminum, yes. Correct. Or caramel and caramel.
Caramel.
It's caramel.
See, I'm completely different to Darren. You'll probably hear Darren saying
aluminium. I'm like, it's aluminum.
Yes, we would say aluminium. Aluminium. So yeah, we're completely different to both of you guys.
Or was it like tin film or no? We call it saran wrap, and then there's clear
foil.
Tin foil, right?
Or cling film.
Cling film, yep. For us, it's just Reynolds or saran wrap, either or.
Yeah. See, we don't call it that. But I can understand. If someone says saran wrap, I know what it is. If someone says aluminum, I know what it is. Just watching movies all the time growing up, we kind of know the American lingo. We've got kids even my kids, they sometimes they speak American. They've got an American accent sometimes. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, that's
I'm offended.
yeah. Like
Your ancestors are rolling in their grave.
well, I've got like Jack, for example, he'll say like, oh, can I put this in? Can I put the ball in the trunk? I'm like, we don't have a trunk. It's a boot. It's the way they say it. And I'm like, where'd you get that from? I'm like, oh, I watched
YouTube.
yeah. YouTube, TikTok videos. I'm like, nope, not how you do it. Not how you do it at all. Oh yeah. The ever scathed says, I like to watch From Dusk Till Dawn on Cinco de Mayo. Pinocchio was very dark. Yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn is very Mexican-y. Is that set in Mexico? They go to the border?
Yeah, they go over the border. Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino. Great vampire movie.
Fantastic. Do you know
And George Clooney is his best acting.
Yeah.
Really hasn't done anything good since.
Yeah, well, he's done okay. But yeah, that was
He sells coffee now.
I didn't know that was a vampire movie when I watched it.
What did you think? It was like demons or something?
I thought it was going to be like True Romance or Pulp Fiction. Because I was into Quentin Tarantino at the time. And I was like, oh, I'll watch From Dusk to Dawn because he's in it. I didn't see the poster. I just saw that it was on. It said Quentin Tarantino and George Clooney. So I was like, oh, I'll watch that. And at first, it felt like it was like True Romance and all that. So I thought, this is a great film. And then all of a sudden, they all started turning into vampires. I'm like, what the hell is happening? And I still loved it. I was like, whoa, this is great. Because I loved horror anyway. So yeah, it was a surprising film because I loved it. Great film.
And Selma Hayek in it is not too bad either.
Oh, honestly.
That's a different video coming up.
Well, yeah. Since I saw her in that film,
you've been a fan.
It's been what 27 years or so, and she's still. I don't know what she's drinking, but she is
stunning,
amazing. Yeah, she's the pinnacle of pinnacle. She's amazing. Love her. Everything she's in is just, and she's 57 this year.
Well, being married to a billionaire will do that.
Well, yeah, I found that out as well when I was looking at her photographs.
I still hope that she'd be maybe single one day, Barry.
Yeah,
maybe.
I was searching, is Salma Hayek single? Do I have a chance? I don't.
I guess I'll settle for Jessica Alba.
Yeah, well, she's just as good, to be honest. She's nice. But I think we'll call it quits there, Frank. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Whatever you want to do, fine with me.
Yeah, had a good time, guys. I know that a lot of questions were coming in near the end there. Apologies. But I think anything over 2 hours, I know that some people kind of zone out anyway. It was nice to have Darren on. I know he had to go, but we'll catch up with Darren shortly. And again, thanks for coming on, Frank, and getting involved in the Evil Dead chat. I know that we've had a lot of Evil Dead chat over the last couple of weeks, and you guys have done it on your channel. But I know that there's some people that are not subscribed to you that are subscribed to me. So it's good for them to hear your thoughts. And hopefully, with you guys being on there, and for those of you who are still here, if you have not subscribed to Frank and Darren, please subscribe to them. They're fantastic. I did mention you guys on the podcast as well. I know you listened to it, didn't you?
Heard that, yep.
Yeah. So
Appreciate
even if you guys don't watch YouTube videos, it's always good if you've got your earphones in and you're doing a jog or at work, get your earphones in, go into the Spotify or wherever you can find Frank and Darren and listen to them because I love your voices. It's really good. But before you go, Frank, let the guys know if you've got your social medias and stuff that you want to find you guys on, what you've got upcoming.
We have the Slaughterlamb Facebook, Slaughterlamb Movie Podcast. We're still continuing to the road to Halloween 45. Darren and I are updating all the announcements that are coming out, and we're having people who've been there to the past to post their own photos of what to expect and get our gears really going up for something that's going to be here very quick in September, because it's already May already, which we didn't think was going to happen at all. And we still got some best and worst coming up, and just pop out some videos whenever we can.
Right, perfect. Yeah, I like your Halloween 45 videos that you guys are doing. I'm very jealous because I really wanted to go. I was trying to get my finances in order, and I probably could go, but I'd have to sacrifice other things in my life, like my kids. So I'll wait till the 50th anniversary. Whoever's still alive, I'll come to the 50th and maybe it'll probably just be Jamie Lee Curtis, to be honest. If she goes, is she going to the 45th? Has that been announced yet?
Nah, it's if it comes to it, Barry, her and John Carpenter are probably going to be the last announcements, if that.
I've a feeling he'll definitely go, but because of Jamie Lee Curtis being part of the Academy now, I'm thinking, is she feeling like she may be too good for this, or is she going to do it? Because
Is
it's a
she going to
one-off.
bring her Oscar with her?
Maybe get a photograph with her.
Little everybody rubs its head.
Maybe. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. For everyone that have been here over the past couple of hours, thank you so much to Frank. I know that Frank will speak to Darren, so thank Darren on behalf of
Will do.
myself, Frank.
He's here.
But
He's here.
Yeah, he's here in spirit. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.